Good evening. I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Supervisor, and I'd like to welcome you all to our Brighton Town Board meeting tonight, November 12, 2014. It's great to have people here watching, whether you're in the audience or whether you're at home watching on the internet or on cable channel 12. We do encourage participation in our meetings, and in a moment we'll get to the open forum where you'll have that opportunity to do that. I do want to note that in case of emergency tonight, you will hear the emergency alarm system. If it does go off, please exit immediately using either the door to my right. If you use that door, turn right, go down the stairs, and go out the rear door of Town Hall and move away from the building. Or you can go through either of the doors in the rear of this room, go out the front door to Town Hall, down the steps, and again, away from the building. Now, should there be technical difficulties in tonight's broadcast, if you're watching the live broadcast, please let Time Warner know. Time Warner Cable's phone number is 756-5000. That's 756-5000. We'll start with a pledge, and I'll ask Town Board Member Chris Warner to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chris. Again, we'll start with the open forum. We always encourage people, residents or not, to share any questions or comments or ideas with the town board during the open forum, whether or not it's concerning a matter that's on our agenda for tonight. If you are watching at home, either on the internet or on channel 12, you may call 303-3060. Someone will take your call and relay your question or your comment to us, and we'll share it. That number again is 303-3060. If you're deaf, you may use our TDD line, 784-5205. Again, 784-5205 is our TDD line for deaf or hearing impaired folks to participate in the open forum. However you communicate with us, we look forward to hearing from you with your questions, comments, or concerns. So we'll now start the open forum. I would note, by the way, that if you are here for one of the items that is the subject of a public hearing tonight, and that is the removal of a silver maple tree under the town's tree law at 868 Clover Street, the corner of Greenaway, and you want your comments to be heard and included in the record of that public hearing, you can wait until that time. But anybody else, we'd love to hear from you. And if you would, please just state your name, and I know you brought a prop with you.
I did. I'm Margie Pete from Color Brighton Green, and I'm here this evening to present a thank you card to you, to Brighton, for pledging to be a climate smart community. And for those in the audience or at home who aren't familiar with that, it's a commitment that the town has made to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to prepare for any of the unavoidable impacts of climate change that we're already seeing. At the last few weeks of the summer market, we were at the Color Brighton Green table. We've been talking to people about the town's effort to be a climate smart community, and we've gotten people from all across Brighton, and I have to say from other parts of Monroe County as well, to sign the card, which I'm going to be leaving with you tonight. So our volunteers at our recycle table at the public market, together with many of the patrons of the market, are very glad to hear that Brighton has made this commitment to our environment. So I just wanted to say thank you, and we're going to be there to support you as you go through this effort. The first step that you've made is the pledge. The second step, which has already started and is going to be ongoing for several months, I believe, is the effort to set some goals for specifically what can be done to reduce those greenhouse gas emissions. And as part of that, we're going to be inventorying the emissions that come both from town operations and, as best we can, perhaps from the entire community, and to choose some actions that are achievable to be done to make a difference in our climate change problem. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Margie. And one thing I want to note, I've certainly been getting a lot of interesting information from the state, now that we have joined this effort. One thing I will say, and I mentioned it, I think, I can't remember if it was at the Unitarian Church when they had a meeting there, but the state has really focused on down sort of the Long Island, Westchester, Mid-Hudson, Capital District region in terms of really recruiting and providing regional resource facilities for climate-smart communities. And maybe cause and effect, there are far fewer climate-smart communities in Western and Central New York and in the Finger Lakes. I don't think there are any fewer communities that are interested in, in showing that commitment, but we're not getting the same regional support at this point from the state. So that's something I'm going to continue to advocate for, and I can share some information on that with you. But it's a great program. It's important. We have been doing some things, obviously, on an ongoing basis, but the Climate Smart Community Project really does incent us to, quantify and make some tangible changes, and potentially, some financial incentives, grant-type incentives to do that. And that's what I think in this day and age, with governments, local governments, struggling with the tax cap and tax freeze and just the cost of doing business. There's nothing like a financial incentive to encourage, and it has worked. There are communities that have put in zero carbon buildings and other very aggressive activities to become more sustainable. And I'm certainly hoping we see more of that here in Western New York.
I think we will, and I think Brighton taking the leadership here has certainly gotten the attention of other communities. We've recently found out from some of the outreach that the town of Brighton staff has done that there are, I think, 3 or 4 other communities in Monroe County, and now we're finding a couple in Ontario County who are joining in as well. And I think the sooner we get our plan ready, I think we'll be ready and waiting for any funding that does appear in the next decade or less to make a difference.
A lot less.
Thank
well,
you.
thank you, and thank you to everybody that signed the card. We really do appreciate it, and this is important, and we're committed to it.
Very good. Thank you.
And maybe we can display that. I know you want to include it in the formal record of the meeting, but maybe it's something we can display out in the lobby and show, let the community know, but also at the same time hold our collective feet to the fire on this. It's a good thing to do. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the open forum? Okay. The public hearing is scheduled for 7:30, so we will hold on that until we get to 7:30. We'll move to the bids. Jim.
Yes. On bids, the first item is, the one item we have here is authorization for solicitation of bids for construction services relating to the rehabilitation of the salt barn roof. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney of the town.
Second.
Discussion? This is something that we've
Tim,
discussed in the capital improvement plan. Tim?
That we have, Supervisor, and we budgeted for it this year. Obviously, we would like to award the contract. I don't think we will be getting to the work this year because of where we are in the season, but it's necessary project to keep the structure of the barn intact, essentially.
It was quite striking when we took the tour over there at the Operations Center, how, what difficult corrosive environment that is. It probably goes without saying that it's a roof over a pile of salt, but it does some real damage to the structure there, and it's very necessary.
How long would a job like that take?
Louise, it probably, the contractor and the crews on there, but probably something of that nature, I would say would be probably around a 2-week job for them to go in and do that.
So why is it too late to do it now?
Well, just typically that it's, the product that you're working with is better put on in warm weather than it is in cold temperatures like this, so.
And between the time it's going to take to get these bids and then
Right.
get everybody mobilized.
Correct.
We're going to be working out there, but it's not going to be fixing the roof. It's going to be
Taking the salt
hauling
out.
salt.
Right.
Yeah. But, in the spring, we'll have bids and can get the work in. Good. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye?
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Malley?
Aye. Can I have a motion to receive and file the communications?
So moved.
Second?
We have a couple things here. One is correspondence from the president and vice president of Empire State College, addressed to me as the supervisor, thanking me for attending their groundbreaking of the new Brighton campus on October 16th. But I do want to note that my colleagues Chris Warner and Louise Novros were both at that ceremony as well. And it's very exciting to see the college going up there at a location that we all ultimately agreed made good sense for the college. And it's going to be another component in our education focus that we have here in Brighton. We're the home of some great school districts that have gotten some wonderful recognition in the last couple of weeks. We're the home to one of the finest community colleges in the nation. We have a portion of the University of Rochester, one of the great research universities in the country here in Brighton, and we will have a major regional campus of Empire State College, which is one of the national leaders in adult non-traditional education. So very pleased at that, and thanks Chris and Louise for being there as well. We have information from the Brighton Fire District on their 2015 budget and their tax levy.
Why didn't they break it down to what it's going to be per household, or?
Well, they prepare the information, it's their information, their format. But that's a good question.
Do it differently, guys, so we can understand it.
It's a striking amount of money,
Yes.
$5 million plus for our fire services for that part of town.
And it's
Also, that's independent of our operation here. They set their budget, they hold their hearings, and it's simply for us to collect it out of that district. So people, if they're interested, they should weigh in on that budget.
And they do, it's interesting. They of course, they have a board of fire commissioners, and they hold elections every year. They elect someone. We had a lot of talk on Election Day this year about people voting. And I had several people come up to me and say, very proudly, and rightly so, I vote every time. Maybe I was being a little snarky, but I said, I bet you don't. When was the last time you voted in a fire election? And they said, fire election? I never knew there was one. And in December, this year and every year, there'll be an election, often unopposed, but at least in the Brighton Fire District, for a spot on the Fire Commission. So,
Well, is there tax levy, is it so much per thousand, your house? I mean,
yes, it's ad valorem, just as, town taxes are. Yeah,
I note that also, that covers not only Brighton, but also part of the town of Pittsford
correct.
as well.
Yeah.
And they send out notices to throughout the town, throughout their constituency, though. So, anyway,
But it's a very important service, and when my house caught on fire, they were there.
Absolutely.
So,
you bet.
Okay, any further discussion on any of the communication items? Anything anybody wants to highlight? If not, we have a motion and a second to receive and file those. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye?
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Committee reports. Louise?
The Parks and Recreation and Community Services Committee has not met since the last town board meeting. Our next meeting will be on November 24th at 4:30 at Brookside School, and the public is welcome to attend.
Thank you. Chris, Finance.
Finance always meets. We met on November 4th, at the Tuesday before this, last week before this meeting. The matters that were discussed are on tonight's agenda, and we'll go through them as we go through our agenda tonight. And the next meeting for the FAST committee will be November 18th, which will be next week, Tuesday, at 3:30 in the Stage Conference Room.
Thank you, Chris. Jason has just pointed out to me that I inadvertently skipped an item, and that is to approve our agenda for tonight. And I'll just add, as an item of communication, the card that Margie Pete left us. So can I have a motion to approve the agenda with that item added?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Okay, now the agenda is good. Let's go back to committee reports. Jason, Public Safety Committee?
Yes, the Public Safety Committee met on Monday, November 10th. We actually had a gentleman address us during the open forum. He came to the meeting bright and early at 8 o'clock and told us about some concerns that he had regarding traffic, speeding, drivers texting, leaves in the street over on Idlewood Road. So it was a good conversation. He was able to bring that to our attention, and there was some interface with Chief Henderson and some outreach. That's what the committee's there for, to bring these items to our attention. After addressing that, we also talked about a neighbor complaint over on Elmore Road regarding speeding. And actually, the Brighton Police Department was able to collect some data and reported that to the Public Safety Committee. And the data did show that there wasn't really a large volume of traffic, and there were really no cars going more than 8 miles per hour over the speed limit. Most of them were right about at that 25-mile-an-hour speed zone, but it was brought to our attention. We were able to at least look into it. So there was also the networking between the various public safety agencies that serve the town of Brighton. And our next meeting will be on Tuesday, December 9th. We meet at 8 o'clock in the morning in the lower level community meeting room, and the public is invited to attend.
Thanks, Jason. One of the things that Mr. Kramer also raised when he was talking about Idlewood and his neighborhood, and it was something that I had observed because I had driven down Idlewood actually the day before on my way to the farmer's market. And it's not a Idlewood limited problem. It's not an Evans Farm limited problem. But it is the problem of leaves being piled in the street. And it does cause dangers for drivers. Drivers tend to have to weave around the piles. That can obviously create safety hazards. It can also, as you're inadvertently, trying to maneuver around a pile, you may be focusing on the pile and not on a pedestrian or a cyclist that's nearby, and you swerve around that, and you may hit that pedestrian on the other side. Leaves in the street, particularly as we get wet weather, are slippery and can harm stopping distance. Obviously, we're never going to keep all the leaves out of the street, but piling more into the street just exacerbates the problem. And the other problem it exacerbates, and a problem we see this time of year, is drainage. Leaves in the street inevitably clog our storm drains. And so I just want to ask everybody to please be kind to the kids walking on your street so they can be safe. Be kind to our storm water systems. please pile your leaves in the very front of your lawn, or if you have a sidewalk, between the sidewalk and the street. Now, if you're wondering, and it's that time of year, obviously, the burden on our highway crews picking up the leaves becomes pretty heavy this time of year. They, most of the year, are able to get through the town on a once-a-week cycle. But we know that in late October into November particularly, it takes longer than a week to get through all the piles of leaves. So I do want to make sure, again, everybody knows on our website, if you click on the menu on the left side of the homepage, leaf and garden debris pickup, or title is something like that, you will get a map showing where our crews are that day and the next day. So if you see that they're coming to your neighborhood the next day, maybe, you know, this afternoon is the time to rake up your leaves.
Bill, I used that just yesterday.
And I think they're coming close to your neighborhood,
Well,
actually.
tomorrow, and Colonel Vogel asked, was I going back to the office after the Veterans event yesterday? And I kind of sniffed the warm air, but then when I got home, I did check on the website and noticed that they're picking up the leaves in my neighborhood tomorrow. And so rather than sit inside and play in my workshop and such, I did go out and bring my leaves to the curb, but only because I saw that the schedule was set. So I hope they get there tomorrow, but there's a huge volume of leaves out there.
There is, and it always takes longer. One of the things we do this time of year, most of the year, we have a separate containerized pickup. But the containerized crew gets pressed into service on all of the leaves this time of year. So you'll note, if you go to the website now, you won't see that separate containerized map. We do still encourage people to containerize their leaves or debris, particularly smaller quantities. Obviously, it's quicker if our folks can pick them up in a container or in one of those big brown paper bags. But it's hard to be patient, I know, because it is frustrating to see those leaf piles, and as the winds pick up, they do blow around. But our highway crews are working very hard, and they're getting through the town. They worked yesterday on Veterans Day. I understand we've got some overtime scheduled for Saturday. So we're working very hard to keep those leaf piles down. Thank you, Jason. Jim, Public Works,
Yeah.
now that we've been talking about Public Works.
Public Works Committee meeting met November 3rd, Monday, and under the old business, we covered a couple of things. First of all, the DPW, the Department of Public Works staff, prepared and mailed out over 220 questionnaires to the residents of the Rollins Tract, and approximately about 45% of those residents responded for the processing. All responses or information will have been received and will be compiled, and that'll be presented as part of our agenda for the December Public Works Committee meeting. The next item was the University of Rochester South Campus, IPD, proposal. The U of R conducted a neighborhood meeting at their Alumni Center, the old St. Agnes campus, on October 29th, which was well attended by the residents of West Brighton. Some of the more frequent topics raised at the meeting were, of course, drainage, wetlands, traffic, and building heights. Tim, you want to make any comments on the meeting or that discussion?
It was well attended, Jim, and one of the things is that people have to know that there's going to be a comment period. There's going to be, further ability for input, and some of I guess some of these issues that people have brought up that in the environmental document and everything else we've gone through with the review is to have been identified and addressed. But obviously, there's things out there that people still want to comment upon.
Yeah.
Very important. The process is not closed. There will be a number of meetings, whether it's for individual projects in the future or on this overall project of the incentive rezoning for the South Campus.
Good.
November 19th, a
Planning
week
board.
from tonight,
Right.
there is a planning board public hearing
Right.
on the first building that the university has proposed, an imaging and other outpatient service building that is proposed to be located on East River Road as part of this IPD project. It's a three-story building, about 92,000 square feet, with the future capability of having a fourth story added to it. So that will be, as Tim said, some of these hearings will relate to specific building proposals, as that one will. But there will also be one, and most likely more than one night of public hearing on the overall incentive zoning proposal itself. We have conducted the environmental review of the proposed IPD. The town board has adopted a findings statement following the completion of a final generic environmental impact statement. But as Tim said, that does not mean that there won't be further discussion of issues that very much relate to the environment out there, and there will be the opportunity for public participation.
Under new business, the RG&E electric distribution system was discussed. Representatives from RG&E attended the meeting to discuss the upcoming work at the Kendrick Road facility, which is right there with the U of R on just off of East River Road. The request was made to conduct nighttime work, potentially subject to the town's noise ordinance. And the committee asked RG&E to provide additional information to clarify what work is going to be done, what other agencies or commissions are needed to grant approval for this work. So this matter is in the process of being reviewed by the Public Works staff. Tim, any comments on that?
Jim, one of the agenda items tonight, towards the end of the agenda, is to set the public hearing date for the hearing that is required to amend the noise ordinance. And I think it's maybe the second last.
Second to last, yes.
Yeah, second to last. And so that public hearing date will be the next town board meeting on the 25th of November.
Correct.
Okay, all right. And that concludes the items off of the meeting. Our next meeting was scheduled for Monday, December 1st, but I'm going to ask Tim if it's okay if we could do that on Tuesday the 2nd. Both Chris and I have conflicts, for that Monday.
That'd be helpful.
So that would be Tuesday, December 2nd, instead of Monday, December 1st.
Usual time.
Usual time, 9 a.m.
Conflict with,
at the lower level community meeting room. I'm sorry, what?
I was wondering if it conflicted at all with
With the second Tuesday.
That'll be the next
Will
week.
be the following.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right?
That's everything on
That's it.
Public Works. Thank you, Jim. Let's go back then. It's now a couple minutes past 7:30. We do have the public hearing scheduled for tonight on the removal of a silver maple located in the highway right-of-way adjacent to 868 Clover Street, pursuant to the town's tree law, Chapter 175 of the Town Code. That property is at the corner of Greenaway and Clover Street. Dan, can I ask, has the necessary legal notice been provided on this matter?
A while ago. It was published in the October 16th edition of the Brighton Pittsburgh Post.
And was notice given to the adjoining
And
property owners as well?
notice was sent to the adjoining property owners on October 15th via first-class mail.
Good.
I have
Legal
a,
notice? Oh,
no, I
sorry.
was saying I have an affidavit of mailing for that. This is something we've changed to make sure that we've.
Wonderful, good. Well, then, notice having been given, I declare this public hearing to be open. We have some materials here, but Tim, would you like to talk briefly about this?
Certainly, Bill. It is a significant town tree, and not by just a couple inches either. It's 52-inch silver maple that experienced a significant failure of one of its main branches, or main leads, as we call it, recently. The photos, I think, that everyone has, and that is back in the file packet for the public, if they so wish to look at it, you can see that it was a significant failure, as I said. You also will note that there's, a significant amount of hollowness in these leads. When we had started looking at these trees, probably about 6 years ago or 7 years ago, in the Greenaway neighborhood, these were identified as potentials because it's very deceiving. The trees are magnificent. They provide a certain aesthetic value to the neighborhood. A tree canopy, we listen to the neighbors. We have been monitoring and observing these, but we have seen some of these failures happen. So when that happens, the tree becomes unbalanced, and as much as we don't like to, the recommendation is to remove this tree at this time. It will be replanted on the property, if not in the same location, approximate location, with another tree in our spring planting of 2015.
Good. Was this under consideration in 2007? Is that what the notes indicate?
That was when we had gone through the neighborhood, Chris, and looked at a lot of these trees that, again, as I said, very hard to determine. They look healthy, but they're nearing the end of their life cycle. So now they become problematic from the standpoint of failure, and now we're starting to see some more of these failures. Obviously, you do not want to have a failure that is catastrophic from the standpoint of life, limb, or property.
And Greenway, we're very sensitive over in that neighborhood.
Well, it is, and when we discussed this at the Public Works Committee, we said that we wanted to go through the public hearing, even though we could probably justify taking this down under, some certain circumstances provided for in the code, because the sensitivity of what we have gone through and the relationship we tried to develop with the neighbors up there, and I think they're relatively happy at this point. We've done some backfilling, infilling, and really took a hard look at all the tree and the landscaping that had been there or removed, or what has happened over the past few years, via the Highway Department and Kathy Markert, and previous to that, Jerry Peterson. So I think this is just, unfortunately, a tree that there's no, remedy for it to preserve at this point.
It should be noted
do
also,
have to.
Two other items. First of all, this tree is 70 feet high.
Yeah.
And second point is, it has already caused some property damage. It's been noted. Okay.
Anytime you have something like this, Jim, it can be as simple as damage to the sidewalks or the yard, if it doesn't do structural damage to the house or a car, or perhaps something even worse.
Grand tree, and many of them are there, but there is a life cycle.
Well, why don't we give the public the opportunity here, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this public hearing for the removal of a tree at 868 Clover Street? Anybody like to address the board on this matter? Again, I think it's important to note all the factors that you have already indicated, and it's a tree that I walked by. In fact, it was, this particular discussion was initiated when the property owner stopped to chat with me while I was out getting a little exercise in the neighborhood. So I know he's supportive of it. And any further discussion, or anyone else in the audience that would like to address this matter?
And what would be the expectation regarding replacement, Tim? Did I miss that? I'm sorry if you mentioned it.
Usually what we'll do, Chris, is go up, talk to the property owner. We've had some recommendations as far as trees that are not the maples that are not as considered the hardwood maple, like the sugar maples. And there's the London Plains, there's some other trees that have a nice canopy grow relatively quickly, and they fill in, and we've put a few of them in the neighborhood already, so.
And all of them have taken very nicely.
Yeah, and it actually the reforestation, if you will, is I think been very good from the standpoint of doing it now progressively as we have these, and not waiting till we have a lot more failures, and then we're starting from essentially ground zero to put these in at the same time. So this gives the opportunity for these trees to mature and do some growing, and we would envision doing this as part of our 2015 spring planting, putting that in.
I know you're putting a much more diverse mix of trees in there. That's,
Right, and that's one of the problems with the neighborhood is it's a monoculture. All the trees were planted at the same time. They all have the same maturity level. So
All
they
silver
are
maples.
pending, they are pending failure, or ending their life expectancy. So the trees that we put in are a variety. So in case you get something like the emerald ash borer, you don't have all ash trees that now they're all gone. So it's a little better from a an urban forest standpoint. So.
Tim, what happened after the evaluation in 2007? It looks like there's the form progression that talks about the review process, and then was it tabled? Was there conditions to trim it, or?
What happened essentially, Jason, is that the board said we will, keep an eye on this matter. We know at some point we will have to go in and start, taking care of some of these trees. Generally, it's been when there's been failures. So that has sort of been the predication, and they're inspected every year, at least once a year when we do our winter work. So we do monitor them. We have had some recommendations to take some out, not due to failure, but because we've been able to see visually when we have a bucket truck, more degradation in the tree. So the board, I think, was wise in compromising from the standpoint of trying to monitor the situation and not go in there and do anything that was wholesale devastation to the neighborhood. And I think that's bearing out that we took the right tact.
Okay, now after 7 years, we're basically, we can't take that tactic anymore. It's to the point
No,
where.
but we started the transition. We started putting the replacement trees in. In another 5 or 10 years of some of the other trees we lose, these will have grown that much more, and it actually makes for a better transition.
We've been trying to prioritize the ones that are in the worst condition instead of taking a large number down all at one time, as was the original recommendation back then. We have been taking down, as all of you will recall, a couple of trees. It's really three main streets,
Yep.
Cheswell, Greenaway, and
Right.
Walden.
Walden.
And we have, they're all silver maples. Essentially, as Tim said, that throughout that whole neighborhood, it's a beautiful, beautiful canopy. But, so we've been steadily removing and replanting, rather than taking, more than 10, I think, originally they were looking at down at all at one time.
Right.
Okay, anything further? Anyone want to speak to the board on this public hearing, or any more comment from the board? Hearing none, then I declare this public hearing to be closed, and I would ask for a motion. You have a motion in your packet.
The matter before us regarding the removal of the silver maple at 868 Clover Street, I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
second.
Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel,
Aye.
Councilmember Novros,
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. We have no old business tonight. New business. Reading and approval of the claims.
Bill, I've reviewed claims totaling $332,612.29. I note some notable items. In particular was the refuse district payment to waste management, which is some $68,789, and apparently there's an additional one making a total of $69,063.19. But again, that's the refuse district, and that's paid for by the district residents themselves. Some $19,000 worth of books, AV materials, and audiobooks at the library this month. and sidewalk replacement invoice for $28,456 in our sidewalk districts. And lastly, I see in the police department a new prisoner bench for $436. But the claims I've reviewed appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved for payment.
Second.
Discussion?
What's a prisoner bench?
Please call the roll.
Councilmember.
Sorry.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Nevros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Next item, Louise.
The next matter is to approve the approval of hiring a particular person effective November 17th, 2014, to fill an open part-time position of animal control officer recently vacated due to retirement of the previous officer. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Mark? If you don't mind.
We had a senior animal control officer retire earlier in the summer. We were operating with a 2 part-time format, and recently there's a communication I shared with the board that one of our part-time animal control officers is going to the city for full-time employment. So we have a pretty dire need. We did some outreach. We found a suitable candidate, more than suitable candidate, and this person, hopefully with your approval, will start on Monday.
Great. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye, and just, I think the agenda doesn't list the name, but Shayna Higgins.
Anna Higgins.
Okay, Jason.
Yes, the next matter is seeking approval of the proposed 2015 Town Board meeting schedule. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
I hope everybody's had a chance to take a look at this. I would just note that a couple of particular things to note, exceptions to our normal second and fourth Wednesday schedule. The organizational meeting will be held on January 5th. That's a Monday at noon. New Year's is the 1st, and so we'll be holding that organizational meeting on January 5th. The second meeting in September will be held on September 22nd. That's a Tuesday. The September 23rd date would conflict with Yom Kippur. The first meeting in November will also be held on a Tuesday, on the first Tuesday, November 10th. Because I'm sorry, the second Tuesday, because the second Wednesday would be Veterans Day next year. And the second meeting in November will also be on Tuesday rather than Wednesday, because of course that would be the day before Thanksgiving. So we have a few more changes than usual in that normal meeting cycle. But most of the meetings will be on the usual second and fourth Wednesday. We have a motion and a second. Any further thoughts on that? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
It's clear on, and I apologize, I forgot to check this before, but it's clear on Election Day, I'm guessing, right? Be the 3rd?
Right, it's, the meeting
I'm
is the
forgetting
second.
the catch on the second,
Right, no, it's not,
phrasing,
it's
okay,
not,
all right.
it's a week after
No.
election.
Okay, sorry, just
Correct.
checking.
Yeah.
Sorry, pardon my interruption. Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye, and Jason, the holiday schedule.
Yes, the next matter seeks approval of the proposed 2015 holiday schedule. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Jim?
Next item is to approve acceptance of a donation totaling $3,000 received through the Battle of Buckland event held on August 28th of this year. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
I want to thank Tim, and as well as Tim Fitzgerald and both schools, Brighton as well as McQuaid, for participating each year in this. It's turned out to be quite an event.
Yes, it has. Dan Mason from the Red Wings has been a big part of that committee. There are other committee members. I don't have all of their names, but what a great tradition. You know, we've talked about it before. The first time was a no-hitter. The McQuaid pitcher threw a no-hitter, and McQuaid won 1-0. This year, although it wasn't a no-hitter, the Brighton turned the tables and won also by the score of 1-0. So the rubber match in the third year should be a dandy.
Great. Really.
Okay, we have motion and a second to accept that very generous donation. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye. Chris?
Bill, the next item is to seek approval to file a certificate of bonding pursuant to the New York State Town Law, Section 25, with Monroe County Treasurer for the collection of 2015 town and county taxes. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye. Chris? I'll let
Another
you-
finance matter, Bill, is to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with Excelis to administer the town employee self-insured dental benefit plan for 2015. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
Discussion?
It's a good plan.
It is a good plan, and Excelis continues to administer it. And further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye. And another finance matter.
The next item, Bill, is to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with the Strong EAP Employee Assistance Program to provide employee assistance services for 2015. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
You guys are going at each other there for those seconds.
Oh,
It's like
Jason has it.
Jeopardy.
Jason has it.
And, Bill, this is a significant program. It's frankly, it's a very reasonable cost at $4,436 for 12 months with an increase of only $87. But this provides our employees the opportunity to take 5 sessions with a counselor. It's totally private, and it just gives any individual who works for the town and their families to take advantage of counseling services. And 5 sessions, I think, is a pretty significant benefit and a very reasonable cost. I'm pleased to see that the town has this program.
It can also be a service that is part of our own discussions with employees. They may be
Yes.
directed to use the EAP as well under certain circumstances. And it's I think, financially it makes sense and it's a good benefit to provide. We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye.
And Bill, yet another matter at FASC is to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with Excelis to provide health plan services to town employees for 2015. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
And this renews services with Excelis for 2015.
Excellent programs, but they're not inexpensive.
No, they are not, and that's something we continue to work to address. Our experience, which drives the cost of these plans, has been steadily improving. We did save well over $1 million originally by entering into this agreement with Excelis, but we are always looking for ways to, while continuing to provide quality medical service to our employees, to do so at a cost that's manageable.
They break it down on the, where it was 10.39%. Then they add all these other things, it makes it 13.91%.
Correct.
Why do they add in fees and taxes?
because those are fees and taxes that we are required to pay.
Okay. What's a PPACA
That,
mandate?
that is the Affordable Care Act.
Change. And then B&B negotiated strategy. So they took away, so they subtracted 2% from what the rate change was going to be.
Correct, based on our continued positive experience. This actual rate of about 13.9% came in somewhat lower than the original guidance that they had given us.
We had budgeted, I believe it was 16% for this increase, so it comes in under budget, which is a relief.
Isn't it? It's really sign of the times to be relieved that it's only 13.91%.
It's the cost of medical services. It's,
Unbelievable.
Anything further? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel,
Aye.
Councilmember Novros,
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye.
Bill, the next item is to seek authorization for the supervisor to execute an agreement with Holforth Risk Management and Assurance for independent risk management consulting services for 2015. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
As we've said in the past, this is an independent consultant that provides us with what I've always found to be very well thought out advice concerning our insurance programs at a cost that, although slightly higher this year, is again remains very competitive, and certainly we've more than earned it back on some of the recommendations he's made over time.
Absolutely. I see it, it's a professional service, and it's increased some $5 per hour in this contract year, which is a fairly modest increase.
Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel,
Aye.
Councilmember Novros, Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Keep going there, Chris.
Yet another. Seek authorization for the supervisor to execute all related documents with Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield and MVP Health Plan, INC, pertaining to the 2015 Medicare medical plans for the eligible town retirees for 2015. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second?
Discussion?
What? Why both of them?
Because for our retirees, both options are available, and the difference in the premium increase is a function of the fact that that the one increased their prices more last year, and the other is catching up this time. This will leave their premiums not identical, but much closer than they were this year. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel,
Aye.
Councilmember Novros,
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Jim?
All right. The next item is to authorize supervisor to approve a recommended just compensation amounts for associated land easements for the proposed Highland Crossings Trail Project. I move in the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Tim or Ken, I don't know which one of you would like to address this. Maybe Ken, as it does relate to easement acquisition.
Mike Guyon really has been heading up this Highland Crossings Trail project. It's a trail that's going to connect a lot of the Brighton trails in through Highland Park to the city, all the way down to the Genesee River, and it is being funded through the federal government, and that federal grant is being administered through the state of New York DOT. There are some matching funds that the town has to come up with and that the city has to come up with. Much of the trail, or some of the trail, I'll say, goes through public lands owned by the state, the county, the town, the city, and those lands are being worked on in terms of whether we're going to be getting easements and how we're going to have those easements structured. But some of the trail goes over private property, and when it goes over private property, we have to compensate those owners for taking a portion of their land. And there's been appraisals done by the contractor who was hired to do that. We're required to pay the highest appraised value. Those have been set forth in the appraisal, and we need to authorize the supervisor to enter into agreements with those private landowners so that they can be compensated for the taking of the land that's going to be used for the easement for the trail.
Bill, we reviewed this at FASC, and the funding had been set at about $200,000, and the estimate of what it's going to cost us is significantly less. When I say us, I mean all governments, only about $118,700, of which the city and town share only a 20% burden between them based upon the proportion that's in the respective municipalities. And our town share would be about $17,000, close to $18,000, but 80% of that is being paid for by the, and you said the federal government or state government, I believe. Is that correct?
The grant funding is actually a federal grant, but being administered through the state.
Administered through the
Correct.
state. Thanks.
Yeah.
Ken. So we're looking forward to the completion of this trail. It's going to be a great asset.
Thanks. Ken? Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Jim?
Next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute a stormwater maintenance easement agreement with Clinton Avenue South, owner of the property at 2090 South Clinton Avenue. I move in the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And this, Tim, you want to comment on this one? This is regarding a medical building project.
One of the things that we have to do as part of the, our stormwater regulations that we must comply with, Jim, is that we need to have agreements in the event that the owners of the property are negligent or do not maintain the stormwater facility. And we've done a few of these in the past. We will continue to do them as a requirement. There's conditions and terms set out in there. And generally that if the town has to undertake anything, we're able to seek reimbursement from the property owner.
Thanks, Tim. Further discussion? Questions? Please call the roll, Dan.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros? Councilmember DePonzio? Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Jason?
Next matter seeks authorization to transfer funds from the workers' comp liability account into the workers' compensation reserve fund. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is the reversal of an item from last year, putting money back in the reserve. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros? Councilmember DePonzio? Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Chris?
Bill, the next item also discussed at FASC is to authorize a bid award with approval to execute an agreement with Joe Basil's Chevrolet to provide a pickup truck for the highway department. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
Do note that just an alternate there in the resolution, just the spelling on that, but I'm sorry, Chris, you made the motion, and Jason, Jim?
Yep, Jim,
Jim seconded?
Fine.
All right. Discussion?
This was a little different to the extent that the pickup truck is a standard item, but at the same time, although we solicited all the local dealerships and such, the one bid we got was out of the Buffalo area. Is that right, Tim? It's a fairly standard item, but I think it reflects just how hot these pickup trucks are and that they can sell those that they have. But this will be a 2015 or
It is a 15.
15? I think it's a lot of use in the highway department.
And as opposed to budget, it comes in
Within a few $100s, Bill, of where we estimated at. I think we're just a shade below Tim's estimate of, yeah, actually, I think we're right on the money with the alternate.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris?
Yet another matter, at FAST, authorization to, the next matter is to seek authorization to amend the table of organization to provide for an additional maintenance mechanic position and approval to hire a particular person subject to a 52-week probationary period to fill that position. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
Kevin is going to be retiring. I'm not sure how we'll open the doors, but we'll somehow manage. He has worked for quite a more years than I have fingers and toes. I know that much. But this will be his replacement, and the reason we're authorizing the amendment to the table of organization is to get him in for 2 weeks of training. This is an old building. Kevin knows it well, and this will give him an opportunity to train. And Stephen Spencer is the name of the employee that will be hired. Be an opportunity to give him some good one-on-one time, really breaking him in on this 60-plus-year-old building we have here. So, looking forward to him coming on board beginning of next month. And we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFazio? Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye.
And I note, Bill, that we've got the letters regarding the two candidates miscopied. So you could
Oh, I see.
turn
You're right.
one on the A side, the other on the B side, and see the entire thing.
Correct. You
Flip them
you
both
are
over.
right. The letter that's attached to that one is the letter that supports
Both.
the next item, which is a position in the highway department. And Jim, I'll let you do that one.
All right. Next item is to approve hiring a particular person subject to a 52-week probationary period to fill the vacant labor position on the highway department. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And this would be to hire Joseph Huggins. And Tim, why don't you talk a little bit about how this opening took place and how we know Joe?
thanks, Bill. Actually, he's formerly Joe, and he goes by Corey is his,
okay.
you know, but no,
Corey.
it really is Joseph, but over in, across the street, he is known as Corey Huggins. He has been a seasonal laborer with us for a number of years. He's a very good worker. One of the things I think need to be said is that the supervisor and I had discussions about this because we did not want to go shorthanded into the leaf and the snow and ice season as far as our staffing goes. And Bill felt it was very critical to make sure we maintained, getting somebody in this position as quickly as we could. So with a known entity out there and somebody that we've had, knowledge of, and he's been a good worker. Reflection on his skills, his work with the crews across the street at the Highway and Sewer Department, particularly Highway, has been very good. So we feel very comfortable hiring him, and it will be a nice addition to the team, and will also not make us any would not make us shorthanded during the leaf season, which is here. So.
And this vacancy is created from the moves after
Yes, there.
Mike's.
With the retirement, right, you're right, Bill. With the recent retirement, we're backfilling positions, and so the trickle-down effect means that we have a labor position open up. Again, this is a good addition, and he's proven to be a hard worker and fit in well with our crews across the street.
Very good. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFazio? Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Next is the proposal to set a public hearing date on a proposed temporary noise law amendment for work on the Kendrick Road substation.
The item we covered.
Yes, it is.
Our
A
last
request
Public
from
Works.
RG&E, and I believe we do have some representatives from RG&E here in the room tonight if there are questions. But Jim, why don't you start out with a motion?
In the matter before us, we're setting a public hearing date of November 25th for the consideration of request for temporary amendment to our noise law for work on Kendrick Road substation. I move in the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And as noted, this is a matter that was discussed at the Public Works Committee. We discussed the urgency of this project with some of the logistical implications of these two main lines that RG&E has running parallel through there, and the fact that the work will necessitate successively taking the one line down and then the other line down to do the work, and the resulting lack of redundancy and the critical nature of the university facilities that this line serves, including many of the medical facilities, argued that this is an urgent condition. On the other hand, this is part of a project that has been known for some time, and so what we proposed, and part of which you have in front of you today, is that we've done these temporary noise proposals, amendments. We've done so with conditions attached to them that particular loud types of work not be done during overnight hours. We've made sure that they have communicated with neighbors, a cell phone number of an on-site project manager, so if there were to be some kind of problem, it would be addressed. We've put restrictions on backup alarms on vehicles, which would require instead flagging personnel, again, to cut down on the noise. And RG&E was receptive to that. They've submitted a letter through council indicating their willingness to do all of those things, and in fact, their willingness to do so based on a commencement of work prior to the time of the actual noise amendment based on that urgency. And that is the conditions that you have before you tonight, and that you will be also considering at the public hearing. That will give the community the opportunity, because work will have been going on for a couple of days at that point. If there are any problems, we don't expect them, but this will be a good opportunity at that public hearing on November 25th. If there are issues there in the West Brighton neighborhoods that are affected, particularly on East River Road and the Helen Norman Bastion, Westfall Heights neighborhood over there, we'll all hear about it. But this is a motion to set a public hearing for a temporary amendment to the noise law, but also recognizing, pending that work beyond our normal construction hours will begin, I believe, as early as the 15th, potentially. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Bill, I note, and we did discuss this at length at Jim's committee meeting.
Public Works.
And the nearest residential neighborhood is 3/10 of a mile away, and the work is all being done up along the expressway at the substation. And the particular noise that we're considering here appears to be the necessary generator equipment to operate some 3 night lights, which they suggest will be the nature of having a diesel truck
Diesel
they're
generator.
just running, idling. And so it's the hope and expectation is that the amount of noise is going to be minimal and not too much different from what's happening right on the expressway right next to it.
But I believe there again, we've asked that that generator be in an enclosed area to further mitigate.
And you also asked that you had a contact person, as has been specified here. so that if in fact it is a problem, that people can weigh in on it, so.
And we appreciate RG&E's willingness to work with us and work with your neighbors on this important project. Thank
I
you.
think the anticipation is this work would be completed by December 24th.
I think it might be helpful to have the RG&E
think it might,
representative
yeah.
step up to the podium
Up
and
to the
maybe
podium?
just clarify a few matters.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Robert Brenner. I'm an attorney with the law firm Nixon Peabody here on behalf of RG&E. I've also got a representative, Doug Booth from SNC Lavalin, and Karam Ahmed from RG&E here with me as well. Each of them can speak to the specifics about the types of equipment that will be used to the extent you have questions this evening, and the projected timeline to the extent you have those questions as well. So I believe a question was asked about the projected timeframe for completion.
Hi, Doug Luke. We're anticipating completing the major pull activities in December, possibly even before the 23rd of the timeframe. So right now it's kind of fluid depending on weather, because it has a factor in those items. That's why we gave you the date range that we're looking for right now. But by the 23rd, before Christmas time, we expect to anticipate a lot of those pulls to be complete, if not sooner.
And the equipment is a generator for one. I also noticed some, is it cable pulling equipment that'll be operated?
There'll be a generator for the lights. There'll be there's a cable reel cart that will be held, that has a brake on it to keep the tension. There will also be a winch that will pull the cable through the duct bank, so we're pulling it from PVC conduits. And that's the essence of what's going to happen.
Is the generator powering the cable pulling equipment, or is that
The generator.
standalone?
The diesel truck will be operating the winch. There will be a generator to operate the lights to keep the work area well lit for safety.
2 items then.
Yep, correct.
And your anticipated completion is by what date?
By the 23rd,
Of December?
correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
Sure.
Go for it.
So I just want to make sure that we've drafted this in a way that's going to work for RG&E. And so I read Mr. Griner's letter. I read the conditions that were set forth in Exhibit B. I did the best I could to translate that into what would be the temporary local law that you have before you. But I wasn't certain on some things, so I want to ask those questions. The typical restriction that we have, as Supervisor Maley said, is that generators would be, and I quote, required to be inside an enclosed trailer or other structure. Is that going to be the case? The generator enclosed in a trailer or other structure? Or is this not?
The generators are the movable kind that are used with the light booms. I don't know if that satisfies the enclosure requirement, or do you want us to put something over it and around it?
Generally speaking, what we're looking for is something that serves as a noise barrier between the operation of the generator and the outside world. Now, we don't need to have that restriction perhaps because it's not near residential structures, or maybe the board is inclined to keep that restriction in place, but I just want to make sure that what we do is going to work for you and that we don't end up with, two ships passing in the night.
Yeah,
So-
based on my understanding of the equipment that's going to be used in the proximity to 390 and the distance from residents, we would respectfully just ask that the board consider lifting that condition in this particular instance, because I think that may interfere with RG&E's operations.
So we would want to amend what you have in front of you. Nothing's been adopted, so.
Correct.
I just need to change what you have in front of you to delete that requirement. It's in condition number 4 in the proposed local law.
And I don't know if there are any other conditions there that you want to
Right,
confirm before we...
so the conditions that I put in are that you would provide public notice. I think that's not a problem.
Absolutely.
That you would have somebody on site who could be reached, and that the public notice would include a mobile number for that person to be reached.
And I believe there was even talk of giving us 2 people.
Yeah, so in our, the letter that Tom Griner drafted and was submitted to the town, there's a primary contact and a backup contact.
And that's
their
great.
mobile telephone numbers are there.
Our noise ordinance goes into effect at 7 PM on weekdays and 6 PM on weekends, and so that's when those backup alarms would have to be shut off and a flag person would have to be used instead. But I saw that in your proposal, so I really didn't have a question about that as much. Some of the things that are provided typically that we want to prohibit overnight, like pavement breakers, jackhammers, they're not even part of your project, but I left them in there because we want to make sure those type of super noisy equipment is not used. Those are really all of the restrictions that we have, and then it was just a question of dates, and so you're going to start working after hours as early as, according to Mr. Griner's letter, as the 17th of November, which is 8 days before our public hearing.
That's correct.
And it creates somewhat of a problem, but maybe an opportunity, as the supervisor said.
Well, we did discuss this, and Mr. Greiner, on behalf of RG&E, thought it was a good compromise. He took the position, that this was a matter of urgency. The town pushed back a little bit and said it's certainly an important facility, but this didn't come as a surprise. And the way we resolved that was to, based on their representations that they would abide by the same conditions that we normally put into an actual temporary noise amendment, that we would allow them to begin the work a couple of days early, reflecting the urgency of the work, but that they would nonetheless come in for the public hearing, and that once we got to the 25th, when the public hearing date is, if that public hearing, if there were issues, we'd have to address them. But
Right.
that,
What I wanted to point out for the board's purpose here is that the way I've written the proposed local law, it will have somewhat of a retroactive effect, such that if you adopt it as written, it actually allows for the variance from the local noise ordinance starting on November 17th. And maybe that doesn't make sense, but what it does is it prohibits the town in the future from going back and enforcing a noise law violation for that period of time that we have this gap. So I just wanted us all to be on the same page on that. Okay.
Well, now, is there something we need to amend here before we go forward?
yes.
The only thing that we need to go forward on today is setting the public hearing.
All right, okay.
But I would suggest that in doing so, let's make the change so there's no question as to whether we need to hold a additional public hearing.
Right,
Because
the-
the law has been changed, and what I would suggest then, as noted, is that,
Everything after the word jackhammers in paragraph 4
yes, yes,
addition
yes, yes,
should be deleted.
correct.
Okay. All right, and I would, as
So
a,
it would read pavement
that is the
breakers
local
and
law that's going to
jackhammers.
be
Good.
discussed at the
Subject to the public hearing.
that would
That
save,
gets rid of the generators enclosed.
so I would accept that amendment, since I was proposing the setting of the public hearing, and
Chris?
that also preclude us from having to make an additional E on the word structure.
Correct.
It's the Latin spelling, Jim.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Just so you know,
Are
we
there-
read this.
Are there any further questions
Just
or
a
comments?
question. Oh,
Louise?
I just had a question regarding how we let the neighbors on Helen, Norman, and Bastion, East River Road neighborhoods know. Are there letters that are sent out within so many feet?
You know how that's handled?
That is a communication that is mailed out to the residents.
We provide RG&E with the addresses, and
We can,
They do
RG&E
that.
sends out.
We'd be happy to arrange for that.
Great.
Okay?
And then also, I mean, is this weather dependent? I mean, if we just have a really horrible weather pattern in December, will you still be able to finish this before the predicted time?
There should be sufficient time in the schedule to accommodate. That's why we give a range in case some bad weather did come in, we can shift it around. The total duration of activity is not a very long time. It's just timing and sequencing is very critical with loads and stuff. And that's why we asked for a range of time to move it around.
And we gave you an extra 2 days, so you can work all the way till Christmas Day.
Thanks.
And Louise, you had?
Yes, at the end of the meeting, you had a discussion with Mr. Greiner about it's a little bit different, but about RG&E's receptiveness to us,
Yep.
about other things, other neighborhoods that are constantly having blackouts and so forth. I wonder if that was brought to your attention and if there was any discussion about that.
I can speak to it briefly. So based on my discussion with Mr. Greiner after the meeting, he indicated to me that he got in touch with the appropriate individuals at RG&E to pass along that information and the town's concerns.
And I did receive an email from him as well, confirming that directly.
Okay. Yeah, I live in one of the
But those,
neighborhoods that's
you know,
always-
those were important issues to us. I mean, what
Absolutely.
Louise, and one of the things Louise is referring to is, we've talked about it here before. Several of our neighborhoods have had, you know, chronic street lighting outages. We know that RG&E, with their new tariff, is planning on beginning projects to address that. And that's a good thing. It's not a moment too soon. Some other issues relating, you know, to outages and communication.
And old grids and so forth.
Yeah. So we're, you know, we're hopeful that, you know, the good working relationship will continue, and this is a, you know, a good opportunity to, you know, to see that happen. So
And
thanks
one
for.
clarification for myself. When we want to discuss something with RG&E or have an issue, we stay local, correct? We don't have to call Spain. Who's in charge?
There are folks in Rochester that you can connect with.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Okay. We do have a motion and a second. Anything further?
See, if we do have a terrible winter in December, that's Diponzio, Diponzio.
I jinxed it.
Okay, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel.
Aye.
Councilmember Novros.
Aye.
Councilmember Diponzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Thank you all for coming in.
Thank you.
Jim?
The next item is to approve a snow and ice control for certain public roadways within the reserve subdivision. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Tim, if you could just discuss this briefly?
And, mind you, describe the word shimming.
Certainly,
It has
Jim.
to do completed as indicated.
From time to time, as we've had residential developments in town, we've been put into a situation such as this where we have not taken final acceptance of the roadways because they're still under construction. There's still things yet to be done.
As a dedicated public road.
And that's correct. These are the ones that are proposed to be dedicated to the town. And so we're only talking about those, not the private roads within the development.
Okay.
You know, in the reserve. And building permits have been issued, certificate of occupancies have been issued. There are people now living over in the reserve. When this transpired a number of years ago on a different project, the developer was unable to perform to keep the roads passable for the residents that were in there. That prompted us to undertake an action such as this, is if the developer provides us with, you know, insurance and some guarantees and indemnification, to say the least, the town would go in there and begin plowing these roadways, because it's the balance of providing services to the people that are in there and making sure that they do get those services, which we are fully capable of doing. So that is the proposal before you, because we do have residents now in this development.
Are those hold harmless agreements being reviewed by the attorney for the town, or have been submitted as yet, do you know?
We will do that upon your approval. We will get the necessary paperwork to Ken and have him make sure it's in order to, you know, to put in place with Costello and Son.
Tim?
That is part of the resolution.
Again, what do they mean by completion?
Right, and
of
that's, I was
shimming?
going to close with that, Jim. one of the things that is yet to be done is the final top course of
Right.
asphalt.
I know what it is, I just think
Right,
for the
and,
public information.
and what you do around structures such as catch basins or manholes that are in the pavement, you put a little bit of asphalt around there as like a little lip, so that the plow is able to, not take those structures and damage them or damage the plow or of that nature. So that's something we have to work with the developer on to make sure that that gets put in properly and maintained throughout the wintertime if problems occur.
You didn't see it, Tim, but we have one of our great highway department employees out there who is just itching to talk about shimming, I think. Do you want to come on up, Bob? You want to come up to the podium just so that they can hear you and state your name so they know who that guy is driving that truck around?
I've been in the subdivision, and Tim's absolutely right. The manholes and the catch basins were up a good 1.5 inches or so. And if you're plowing with our trucks and you hit a manhole, it hurts. It shakes the whole truck. It can damage the front plows, damage the carbides, which makes the truck then not as efficient in plowing. So, yeah, that's unfortunately. Luckily I plow Clinton Avenue, but I don't have to go in there. At least not right now. But yeah, that's important to have that work done, because otherwise we can't do our job right.
And Tim, you might explain why you have to do shimming. Why didn't you just put a top coat in there?
Well, part of it's timing, Jim. It's one of the last things that you put down as far as the roadway goes. There's still a lot of construction going on, particularly some of the clubhouse and loft buildings. There'll be heavy equipment in there, so once the top course goes on, we'll be ready to take dedication, but that will happen at the earliest next year. But again, it's timing, and a lot of times you let things sit through a season
Right.
before you put the top course on, because if there's any settlement or anything that needs to be repaired, you don't want to be digging up the finished product.
Again, I thought it'd be helpful for the public information to understand, whoa, why don't they just pave it over?
Yeah.
That's the reason, yeah. Good, thanks.
Okay, any further comment? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
No.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor, Suzanne, you have the expense and revenues report for the month ending October 31st, 2014.
They're just to be received and filed this
And
month.
if I can have that motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
And as always, at the end of the quarter, which in this case will be the end of the year, we'll have a more detailed report.
Actually, full report at that point from our auditors and.
Correct, actually, yeah. Okay, motion and a second to receive and file the finance director's report. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Also, just a couple of other things. One, I want to make note of the Veterans Day ceremony that was held yesterday at our Veterans Memorial. Jim, it's another sign of why you and your committee worked so hard to get that memorial in place, because as we said it would be, it is a site where our veterans and their families and their friends can gather, particularly on the important holidays of Memorial Day and Veterans Day. And I looked in the paper this morning. They didn't quite touch the record high that was set on the day that we dedicated, but we came very close. Another beautiful day, and so fitting for honoring our
As
veterans
opposed to
there.
today's temperatures.
Right.
Whoa.
So it was a great ceremony. Thank you to everyone that participated. I was also a part of ceremonies that were downtown. And again, wonderful opportunity. One of the things we did yesterday, and it's something we will continue to do each Veterans Day, it's great to thank a veteran or an active service member for their service. In addition, what we are going to be doing is thanking those people and those organizations in our community that are doing more, that are actively providing services to our veterans. And Monroe Community College received a proclamation from the town board, specifically their Veterans Service Office, for the great work that they do, providing a variety of services to the hundreds of veterans, primarily returning veterans from the Middle Eastern conflict zones that have come back to further their education, vocational or otherwise, at MCC, help connecting them with the various other agencies in the community, helping them connect with job opportunities and the like. That office does yeoman's service for people that we owe a huge debt of thanks to. So we presented them with a proclamation yesterday, and great ceremony. Thank you to all of you on the board that were able to be there. Also want to note, if you've been out to Buckland Park lately, you will see that the new shelter next to the playground near the main parking lot has now been completed, and that's going to be dedicated on November 29th at 10:30 in the morning. That's the Saturday of Thanksgiving Day weekend. And again, our thanks go out to Dr. Mahendra and Jyoti Nanavati and the Brighton Rotary Foundation that provided the funds for the construction of that shelter. And the goal is, we see a lot of families playing in the playground, and there was no place to get out of the sun. And now folks will have a real nice shelter with picnic tables where they can do that. So
What time will that be again, Bill?
10:30 in the morning.
On the 29th?
And if you notice it, it's very solidly constructed.
It is. Yeah. Okay, that's all I have. Matters of the clerk?
I'll just, obviously, with last week being Election Day, we just want to once again cannot thank the election inspectors enough for the hard work that they do. It's a very long day, and I'm hoping at some point the Board of Elections will be able to adjust their rules to make it a little more manageable of a day. I think would greatly broaden the pool of potential inspectors. But if anybody out there watching this, if you would like to be an inspector, feel free to give a call. I've worked at the different levels over the years, and I'd be happy to talk you through and put you in touch with the folks you need to talk to sign up. You're going to be seeing flyers around town that I put together trying to recruit inspectors, because it's really going to be a year-round process to work with just the attrition that we have on a yearly basis. And just to thank the 3 election inspector coordinators who do herd the cats for Election Day and just in alphabetical order. So thank you very much to Monica Gilligan, Bizza Milliken, and Mr. Jim Silverman for all their hard work. Really, their start back, with the primaries. I mean, they're almost year-round, appointment, depending on which cycle it is. So, definitely, again, could not do it without them.
Thanks, Dan, and thank you, yes, to the inspectors. The reason we don't have Florida-type problems, and for that matter, Florida-type lines, is largely due to those inspectors, but it's also certainly thanks go to our election commissioners in both the Republican and Democratic Party. Peter Quinn and Tom Ferraci do a great job in a very nonpartisan or bipartisan way every year.
Yeah, we are tremendously lucky to have the folks downtown at the county office building in our department. I mean, talking to clerks at conferences from other areas, I mean, even within New York State, they don't have as good as experience as we have here. I mean, we are truly lucky to have, incredibly talented people down there at the BOE. We're probably done by now, but we spent the entire day still working through last week's results. So, kudos to everybody down there.
Very good. Just one more thing I forgot to mention, but something that I always enjoy. I had a chance today to go out and talk to a couple of classes of second graders at Council Rock School. And it's always fun. They're learning about government in their classes, and had a lot of information, a lot of great questions. One that I thought was particularly appropriate, given that tonight was a board meeting. One of the young students asked if anybody ever falls asleep during the board meeting. And I can't vouch for any. It was very cute, because she first prefaced it by saying, this may be kind of a personal question. And I really wasn't sure what to expect. But then she asked that, and I've not seen anybody up here at the table fall asleep. I hope we haven't put anybody to sleep out there watching on TV or on the internet. But it's always a great experience.
I've heard more than one person suggest that they turn this meeting on to help them fall asleep on the replay.
So, sorry, one thing I forgot to mention, Supervisor. I did notice a typo on the agenda. I didn't know if that was simple, just correction, or if that needed to be officially approved
I think
and
that
accepted.
can just be
All right, good deal.
we're good. Matters of the board.
Actually, if you don't mind, Supervisor, I actually
Matters
have
of
a
the town attorney.
Sure, you skipped
Oops,
over me today.
my apologies.
And not to steal from former Councilman Ray Tierney or Councilman Vogel, but I want to take 2 minutes and do a little Code Corner thing.
Good.
Only because I stole our finance director out of here earlier, walked outside because I had a small little panic. I was looking at our approved and adopted schedule of meetings and thinking about when our organizational meeting was going to be, and it dawned on me that although we have a holiday on Thursday the 1st, we do not have a holiday on Friday the 2nd of January, and yet our organizational meeting isn't going to be until Monday the 5th. And so I, just because I drive myself crazy asking myself these questions, said, well, what does that mean to all of the folks that we appoint on an annual basis, like Tim Keefe, our superintendent of highways, or Tim Anderson, our deputy superintendent, or all your animal control officers, or your town attorney, or your deputy town attorney, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a lot of folks that we appoint that actually in the resolutions we say those terms expire December 31st, 2014. And so Suzanne and I had a little chat. We said, well, we think they just carry over, but I wasn't satisfied. So here's the answer. The answer is Public Officers Law, Section 5, that talks about holding over after expiration of term, and any of those appointed officials get to continue in their duties until a new replacement is appointed at the organizational meeting in the next year, even if it carries over beyond January 1st, which is when those terms typically would expire. So that's my little education piece for this evening. I feel better about everything. I know you all do.
Well, we do too. We do.
You feel good.
Thank you.
Might have to amend that answer to that little girl now.
That's right.
That was fascinating stuff.
Now we'll get to the matters of the town board, and I know that those will not put anybody to sleep.
Okay, I got an email today from the police chief saying that the DEC has relented.
DEA.
DEA and DEC.
They have relented, and we will be able to have pharmaceutical take back again. And it looks like to me it'll be 6 months, probably either April 18th or April 25th. That's up to you. And because the first weekend in May is the bicycle parade, beginning of the baseball parade, the beginning of baseball season, and I tentatively think 2 weeks after that, on the Saturday, May 16th or 17th, will be clean sweep, and then following clean sweep, maybe a week or so later or 2 weeks later, we'll have the electronics and shredding.
Well, once we get all those dates firmed up, then we can.
I just have to get the
had it.
approval of the federal government, so
So he wanted to know what the dates were.
then the one in the fall, will just coordinate.
Right, it
Good.
must be like 6 months later after that.
And I appreciated that. I saw that email too, and thank you, Mark, for
Yes, thank you.
working so hard to try to keep a great program going.
It is a great program, and the county's going to stay involved, and they're going to take the large quantity of take back to Covanta for us.
Wonderful.
So all the partners are working.
You're still gonna make us pay for the barrels?
I think the answer to that is yes.
Okay. Well, we will pay for them.
Any other matters of the board?
Yes, just as an observation, Dan was talking about complimenting the election coordinators. Brighton has traditionally had one of the highest, if not the highest, turnout of voters every year, every time we've had an election. But it's a sad commentary to see the terrible low turnout nationwide that we've got. Boy, I got to tell you, if I were president or Speaker of the House, I would move to have Election Day as a holiday, to where it's mandatory that you could, show up. You're a registered voter. I mean, it's pathetic that the turnout and the apathy that people have towards election. And then they'll come around and complain that their government is bad at this level or that level. They have no right to really complain if, in fact, they're not going to show up to vote. And look how close even our election was here that was declared today that Louise Slaughter is, in fact, the winner of that election. But there was a congressional race. No one really thought was anything, in terms of a hot race. She won by only 800 votes.
Which is actually very close to one vote per election district
Think about that.
in that congressional district.
Yeah. No, it
So
doesn't matter if
one
you're-
vote does absolutely makes a difference.
And, it doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, right, whatever. Showing up to vote and express your opinion. I mean, that is our right. We fought a revolutionary war over this. And it's just treated in such a manner. And I got to tell you, it really starts with the parents. My mother and father, as a case in point, like most of yours, very dutifully took that very seriously. And it really, really rubs off on the kids. And, parents, you need to think about that, Make sure that you vote. And point was, even in the election for the fire district and so it is important. The same thing with your school districts.
Yep.
We've got 5 school districts in this town. And I encourage, our residents who are, registered voters, get out and vote.
I was struck in speaking to a young person who was beating me at racquetball, and he said, I had no appreciation for how few young people voted, and that it was absolutely irrelevant to him. And I was shocked, absolutely shocked. And my folks set an example for us. Despite the fact that they were in opposite parties, they both voted, if for no other reason than to cancel each other out. But they made a big to-do of it, that it was an obligation. It was a right, but as much an obligation.
The flip side, it was just great to see as I went around to polling places, the number of people that were there, particularly late in the day, people voting at the end of the day with their kids with them. And there's no better way, seems to me, to foster that feeling of how important it is to vote. So take your kid to work day is a great thing, but take your kid to vote day on the first Tuesday in November is another great tradition.
Very well said. Bill, one initiative that I wanted to, whether it's an announcement or not, but just to spread the word on, Rochelle Bell of our Sustainability Committee has engaged me in a discussion of painting the traffic control boxes around town. We've got some, and I know that this is something current in the chief and your discussion about how often they're being vandalized in town, and they're very unsightly, both in 12 Corners and on all the various highways and such. Other towns have done it. I know we've got some great-looking things in boxes in the city, particularly in the neighborhood of the arts and such. And we're going to take a look and see what that process entails. We're meeting just tomorrow, she and I together, to break out what the action steps will be, who we have to engage, and how we go about the process of getting permission and so forth. Judy, yes?
I have to tell you that several years ago, BNU contacted the state about that. And because we thought that they really needed to be done. So many other communities were doing them and so on. And the response to me was, oh, we can't have you do that because we have to take them down periodically to repair them, and we can't guarantee that we will bring them back to where we took them from. And I thought, well, I can't say it, but but I thought, you take the innards out. You don't have to take the whole box or whatever. So I wish you well, but we got a flat no, okay? But maybe there are different
it's more
people.
common today, and I was giving,
Of course, but it was common then too. Irondequoit had done it, the city had done it, and they were beautiful. And I really think it will enhance the town. There are several, though. Start counting them. There are quite a few.
well, I hope we
Yeah.
I hope we will be more successful.
Well, I hope you will be. I really do. I wish you well. But just be prepared. I thought the response was almost beyond ludicrous. We can't guarantee that we'll bring them back where we took them from. So.
Well, they did suggest that they get hit all the time, and don't expect the county, in this case, I was talking to the county to repair them, but with that understanding. But one of the things that I thought was encouraging was that if in fact you paint them, they're much less likely to be vandalized. And also the last coat of paint that gets put on actually is a clear coat, and hopefully the graffiti won't stick quite as badly, but also they're much less likely to be defaced. So all I can say is we're starting the discussion, and any folks that have any information or want to weigh in on it, I'm very happy to field their information.
Thanks, Chris. I think it's a great program, and look forward to seeing them around town, and I know you'll jump through, sounds like a lot of hoops, but hopefully successly.
Hopefully government can get out of its own way and we can get it done.
And they're not all on state highways. If what it means is we get started on
the county ones.
The boxes that are not on state highways, there's still a lot of those.
Well, I'm told where a county road meets a county road, it'll be a county box. But where a county road meets a state road, it's a state box. So it is going to be an issue.
Yep.
But thanks, Judy.
Anything else? Then can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Thank you all for being here. Just a reminder again, our next meeting will be on the fourth Tuesday of November 25th, right here at 7 p.m. Have a great evening.